All right, so number 21 on page 158, I'm going to use trig identities. It doesn't say it there, but I know on the test you're going to be asked to use trig identities, so we might as well practice that. So we're told secant, we're supposed to find all the other functions. An easy one, let me just set it up. So I need to fill in sine and cosine, tangent, cosecant, secant, cotangent. Okay, we already know secant is -2. And we can flip that over and get -1/2 then for cosine, right? Okay, so now I know two things. Let's see, secant, what's that one Pythagorean one where it's 1 plus, is it 1 plus tangent squared equals secant squared?
Yeah.
Okay, so we can find tangent then, can't we? So 1 plus tangent squared equals secant squared. And we know secant is -2, so 1 plus tangent squared equals -2 squared. So 1 plus tangent squared equals 4. Subtract 1. Tangent squared equals 3. Square it both sides, so then tangent equals square root of 3, and we got to figure out plus or minus. Now they told us from this information here that we're either in the first or the second quadrant, right?
Second, so it's cosine is negative.
Secant is negative, which means cosine is negative, which means we're in the second quadrant. So if we're in the second quadrant, tangent then is negative. So we will put a negative square root of 3.
Can you go over that,
Again?
what you just did, that
Mhm.
quadrant thing?
So now we have tangent, we need to figure out cotangent. So I'm going to take -3/1, sorry, square root of 3, and I'm going to flip it over and rationalize. So then we get -√3/3. The last part is find sine and cosecant. Now sine, we can do sine squared plus cosine squared equals 1. Now, there's actually lots of things we could do. That's one I typically go for. So sine squared plus -1/2 squared equals 1. Sine squared equals plus 1/4 equals 1. Subtract 1/4 from both sides. So now sine squared equals 3/4. Square root both sides. Sine equals the square root of 3/2. Once again, we have to figure out, is that positive or negative? Sine is the y value, and then we're in the second quadrant, so the y value is positive. Flip that over. 2 over the square root of 3. Rationalize. So we get 2√3/3. Do we have any other questions? We only have about 5 minutes left. We have, it told us that theta was between 0 and pi. So that means between 0 and pi means we're in the first or second quadrant. Okay? Because here's 0 and here's pi.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? Then they told us that secant is -2. So secant's negative. Now secant's the reciprocal of cosine, and cosine is the x value, right? So we're either in the first quadrant or second quadrant. In the first quadrant, x is positive. In the second quadrant, x is negative. So it's not the first quadrant, it's going to be the second quadrant. So now we know that we have a positive y value and negative x value. So when I'm looking at tangent, tangent is the opposite over adjacent. So positive divided by negative is a negative. We're good?